My mother-in-law's trying to get my husband to divorce me by showing him fake evidence I'm cheating. I've been married to my husband, Louis, for 5 years now, and we have a beautiful 2-year-old daughter together. My mother-in-law, Adele, has always been a bit overbearing, but I've tried my best to get along with her for the sake of my husband and our family. However, things took a turn for the worse about 6 months ago when Adele started making accusations that I was cheating on Louis. At first, I thought it was just her being her usual dramatic self, but as time went on, I realized that she was actually trying to manipulate Louis into divorcing me. She would show up at our house unannounced, claiming that she had proof of my infidelity, and would proceed to show Louis fake text messages, emails, and even fake social media posts that she had clearly fabricated herself. Louis, being the trusting person that he is, would get upset and we would have huge fights about it. I would explain to him that it was all a lie, but he would just say that he didn't know what to believe. I tried to reason with Adele, to explain to her that she was hurting our family and our marriage, but she just wouldn't listen. She would say things like, "I'm just trying to protect my son, and you're not good enough for him," which would just make me feel so small and unworthy. I started to feel like I was walking on eggshells around Louis, never knowing when Adele would strike again and cause another huge fight. I felt like I was losing my husband, and it was all because of his mother's manipulation. Update 1. I decided to take matters into my own hands and started to investigate where Adele was getting her evidence from. I discovered that she had been using a private investigator to follow me around and take pictures of me with other men, which she would then use to prove that I was cheating. I was horrified, but I knew that I had to stay calm and gather as much evidence as I could to prove that Adele was behind it all. I started to document every time Adele would show up at our house, and every time she would make an accusation. I also started to save all of the fake text messages and emails that she would send to Louis so that I could use them as evidence later. I knew that it wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to prove Adele's manipulation and save my marriage. Update 2. Things escalated quickly, and Adele's accusations became more and more frequent. Louis and I would have huge fights every time she would show up with new evidence, and I could see the doubt in his eyes. I knew that I had to do something drastic to stop Adele once and for all. I decided to confront her, to tell her that I knew what she was doing and that I had evidence to prove it. I was nervous, but I knew that it was the only way to stop her. I invited Adele over to our house, under the pretense that we were going to have a family dinner. When she arrived, I sat her down and showed her all of the evidence that I had gathered. I showed her the fake text messages, the emails, and the private investigators' reports. I explained to her that I knew that she was behind it all and that I was not going to let her ruin my marriage. Adele was taken aback, but she still tried to deny it. She said that she was just trying to protect Louis and that I was the one who was being paranoid. But I knew that I had her cornered, and I was not going to let her wriggle out of it. Update 3. After the confrontation with Adele, things started to die down a bit. Louis and I were able to have some peace, and we started to work on our marriage again. But I knew that Adele was still a threat, and that I had to be vigilant. I started to notice that Louis was becoming more and more distant, and I realized that Adele's manipulation had taken a toll on him. He would question my loyalty, and would sometimes even accuse me of cheating. I knew that I had to be patient, and that I had to keep reassuring him that I loved him and that I would never cheat on him. I also started to set boundaries with Adele, making it clear that she was not welcome in our home unless she respected me and our marriage. It's been a long and difficult journey, but I'm determined to save my marriage and to prove Adele's manipulation once and for all. I just hope that Louis will eventually see the truth and that we can move on from this nightmare. Update 4. It's been a few months since the confrontation with Adele, and things have been relatively calm. Louis and I have been working on our marriage, and we've been attending counseling sessions to deal with the aftermath of Adele's manipulation. I've also been setting boundaries with Adele, making it clear that she's not welcome in our home unless she respects me and our marriage. But despite all of this, I still feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I never know when Adele will strike again, and I'm always looking over my shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I've started to feel like I'm losing myself in all of this, like I'm just a pawn in Adele's game of manipulation. I've started to wonder if I'll ever be able to trust Louis again, or if the doubt that Adele has planted in his mind will always be there, lurking in the background. I've started to feel like I'm trapped in a never-ending cycle of drama and manipulation, and I don't know how to escape. Update 5. I've been feeling really overwhelmed lately, and I've started to wonder if I'm strong enough to deal with Adele's manipulation. I've started to feel like I'm losing my grip on reality, like I'm just a small boat in a stormy sea. I've started to question my own sanity, wondering if I'm just being paranoid or if Adele is really out to get me. I've started to feel like I'm all alone, like I have no one to turn to. But then I had an epiphany. I realized that I'm not alone, that I have Louis and our daughter to think about. I realized that I have to be strong, not just for myself, but for them as well. I've started to focus on the positive, to remind myself of all the good things in my life. I've started to surround myself with supportive people, people who believe in me, and who will help me through this difficult time. I've started to see a therapist who is helping me to deal with the emotional fallout of Adele's manipulation. And I've started to take care of myself, to make sure that I'm eating well, exercising regularly, and getting enough sleep. I'm determined to rise above Adele's manipulation, to prove to myself and to Louis that I'm strong enough to overcome anything. I'm determined to save my marriage and to create a happy and healthy home for our daughter. I'm determined to take back control of my life and to live the life that I deserve. My sister stole my wedding fund to pay for her fourth wedding after 3 divorces. I'm still trying to process how my sister could do this to me. We've always been close, despite our age difference. I'm 28 and she's 35, but we've shared so many memories together. Our parents passed away when we were young, and we only had each other. I thought that bond was unbreakable, but I guess I was wrong. My fiancé, Keegan, and I have been planning our wedding for over a year now. We've been saving up every penny, and our friends and family have been generous with their gifts. We had around $10,000 in our wedding fund, which we thought was enough to cover all the expenses. But last week, I discovered that our joint account had been depleted. At first, I thought it was a mistake or maybe some kind of fraud. But then I saw the transactions and my heart sank. My sister, Amara, had withdrawn all the money to pay for her fourth wedding. Yes, you read that right, her fourth wedding. She's been married 3 times before, and each time it ended in a messy divorce. I've always been supportive of her, even when I didn't agree with her choices. But this time I feel betrayed. I confronted her, and she just broke down in tears. She said she was desperate and didn't know what else to do. She claimed that her fiancé, River, was the love of her life, and she couldn't imagine living without him. I tried to reason with her, but she just kept saying that she would pay me back. Pay me back. How can she pay me back when she's already married 3 times and has a history of financial irresponsibility? I'm not even sure if I can forgive her for this. Keegan is trying to be understanding, but I can see the anger in his eyes. He's been working so hard to save up for our wedding, and now it's all gone. We're going to have to start from scratch, and I don't know how we're going to do it. Update 1. It's been a week since I found out about the stolen money. I've been trying to avoid my sister, but it's hard when we live in the same town. I saw her at the grocery store yesterday, and she tried to talk to me. I just ignored her and walked away. I know it's not the most mature thing to do, but I'm still hurting. Keegan and I have been talking about our options, and we've decided to start a crowdfunding campaign to raise money for our wedding. It's not ideal, but we don't have any other choice. We've also been looking into cheaper venues and vendors, trying to cut costs wherever we can. It's not going to be the wedding of our dreams, but we'll make do. My sister has been trying to contact me, sending me messages and leaving voicemails. She says she's sorry and that she'll do anything to make it right, but I'm not ready to talk to her yet. I need time to process my emotions and figure out how to move forward. Update 2. It's been 2 months since the incident, and things have been slowly getting back to normal. Keegan and I have been working hard on our crowdfunding campaign, and we've managed to raise around $5,000. It's not enough to cover all the expenses, but it's a start. We've also been looking into smaller, more intimate venues, and we found a beautiful little vineyard that's willing to work with us. It's not the grand wedding we initially planned, but it's going to be perfect in its own way. My sister has been trying to reach out to me more frequently, and I've finally decided to talk to her. We met at a coffee shop, and she broke down in tears again. She said she's been struggling to come to terms with what she did, and that she's seeking help for her financial issues. I believe her, but it's hard to forgive her when I'm still feeling the effects of her actions. She offered to pay us back in installments, but I'm not sure if I want to take her money. Keegan is against it, saying that we don't need her help and that we can do it on our own. But a part of me wants to take her money and use it to rebuild our relationship. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm willing to try. Update 3. It's been 6 months since the incident, and our wedding is just around the corner. We've managed to raise enough money to cover all the expenses, and we're feeling grateful and relieved. My sister has been making an effort to pay us back, and we've been using that money to pay for some of the smaller expenses. We've also been attending therapy sessions together, trying to work through our issues and rebuild our relationship. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Keegan and I have been talking about our future, and we're excited to start this new chapter in our lives. We're going to have a small, intimate wedding, surrounded by our closest friends and family. And my sister will be there too. I've forgiven her, and I'm trying to move forward. I know that our relationship will never be the same, but I'm willing to work on it. I just hope that she's learned from her mistakes and that she'll be more responsible in the future. As for me, I'm just excited to marry the love of my life and start our new journey together. We'll see what the future holds, but for now, I'm just happy to be happy.
My sister's trying to get power of attorney over our father by claiming I'm stealing his money, but she's the one taking it. My father is 75 years old and has been struggling with dementia for the past 5 years. My sister, Nicholas, and I have been taking care of him, but the situation has become increasingly difficult. We've had to hire a full-time caregiver to help with his daily needs, and I've been managing his finances. My sister has been accusing me of stealing from my father, which is completely false. I've been keeping detailed records of all his expenses and income, and I've even had an accountant review the books to ensure everything is above board. Despite this, my sister continues to spread these false accusations to our other family members and even to my father's friends. It's caused a lot of tension and stress, and I'm not sure how to deal with it. I've tried talking to my sister about it, but she won't listen. She's convinced that I'm taking advantage of my father, and she's determined to get power of attorney over him. I'm worried that if she succeeds, she'll use it to wreak havoc on my father's finances and exploit him for her own gain. I've seen the way she handles her own finances, and it's not pretty. She's always struggling to make ends meet, and I'm afraid she'll use my father's money to bail herself out. I've tried to explain to her that I'm only looking out for my father's best interests, but she won't listen. She's too busy plotting and scheming to get her hands on his money. I'm at my wit's end, and I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle, and I'm worried that my sister will succeed in her plans. Update 1. I had a meeting with my father's lawyer yesterday to discuss the situation. He told me that my sister has been trying to get power of attorney over my father, and he's been advising her on how to go about it. I was shocked and outraged. I didn't know that she was taking it this far. The lawyer told me that he's been trying to caution her about the implications of getting power of attorney, but she's not listening. She's convinced that she's doing the right thing, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to get what she wants. I asked the lawyer if there's anything I can do to stop her, and he told me that I need to gather evidence to prove that I'm not stealing from my father. He suggested that I get a forensic accountant to review the books and provide a report that I can use to defend myself. I'm going to do that, but I'm worried that it won't be enough. My sister is relentless, and she'll stop at nothing to get what she wants. I'm starting to feel like I'm in a war, and I'm not sure if I'll emerge victorious. I've been trying to stay calm and focused, but it's getting harder and harder. I just want to protect my father and ensure that he's taken care of, but my sister is making it impossible. Update 2. I had a big argument with my sister yesterday. She came over to my house and started accusing me of stealing from my father again. I tried to calm her down and explain the situation, but she wouldn't listen. She just kept repeating the same lies and accusations, and I eventually lost my temper. I told her that I'm sick of her lies and that I'm going to do everything in my power to stop her from getting power of attorney over my father. She just smirked and told me that I'll never be able to stop her. It was a really ugly scene, and I'm still shaking with anger. I don't know how to deal with her anymore. I feel like I'm at my breaking point, and I'm not sure how much more of this I can take. I've been trying to stay strong for my father's sake, but it's getting harder and harder. I just want to protect him and ensure that he's taken care of, but my sister is making it impossible. I've been thinking about going to the police and reporting her for her actions, but I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do. I don't want to escalate the situation, but I also don't want to let her get away with what she's doing. I'm trapped, and I don't know what to do. Update 3. I had a meeting with the forensic accountant yesterday, and he told me that he's found some suspicious transactions on my father's bank statements. It looks like my sister has been using my father's money to pay her own bills, and she's been trying to cover her tracks by using cashier's checks and money orders. I'm outraged and disgusted. I knew that she was taking advantage of my father, but I had no idea it was this bad. The accountant told me that he's going to provide a detailed report that I can use to defend myself, and he's also going to testify on my behalf if necessary. I'm going to take this report to the lawyer and see what he can do to help me. I'm determined to stop my sister and ensure that my father is protected. I'm not going to let her get away with this. I've been feeling like I'm fighting a losing battle, but this new evidence has given me hope. I'm going to keep fighting, and I'm going to do everything in my power to protect my father. I just hope that it's not too late. I'm worried that my sister has already done too much damage and that my father's finances are beyond repair, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep fighting no matter what. Update 4. I had a meeting with my father's lawyer again yesterday, and he told me that he's been able to get a temporary restraining order against my sister. She's not allowed to have any contact with my father or access to his finances until the court can sort out the situation. I'm relieved and grateful. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, and I can finally start to focus on taking care of my father. The lawyer told me that the next step is to go to court and argue my case. He's confident that we'll be able to prove that my sister is taking advantage of my father and that I'm the only one who can protect him. I'm nervous but hopeful. I know that this is going to be a long and difficult process, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to protect my father. I just want to ensure that he's taken care of and that his finances are secure. I'm going to keep fighting no matter what. I'm not going to let my sister get away with what she's done. I'm going to make sure that justice is served and that my father is protected. Update 5. I went to court yesterday, and it was a really emotional and difficult experience. My sister was there, and she was still denying any wrongdoing. She was trying to convince the judge that I'm the one who's taking advantage of my father, but the evidence was against her. The forensic accountant testified, and he presented his report. It was clear that my sister had been using my father's money for her own gain, and that she had been trying to cover her tracks. The judge was not happy, and he ruled in my favor. My sister is no longer allowed to have any contact with my father, and she's not allowed to access his finances. I'm relieved and grateful. I feel like I can finally start to move on and focus on taking care of my father. It's been a long and difficult journey, but I'm glad that it's finally over. I just want to ensure that my father is taken care of and that his finances are secure. I'm going to keep fighting to protect him, and I'm not going to let anyone take advantage of him again. I'm grateful for the support of my family and friends, and I'm grateful for the justice system. It's not perfect, but it worked in my favor, and I'm grateful for that. My wife cheated with my best friend at our wedding reception, so I'm playing their confession video at their wedding. I met my ex-wife, Amelia, in college, and we were together for about 5 years before we got married. Our wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but it turned out to be a nightmare. After the reception, I started noticing that my best friend, Carlos, was acting strange around me. He was distant and wouldn't even look me in the eye. I brushed it off as him being drunk, but little did I know, something was brewing between him and my wife. It wasn't until a year later, when I discovered a text message on my wife's phone, that I found out the truth. The message was from Carlos, and it was a confession of their affair, which started at our wedding reception. I was devastated, and my world came crashing down. We got a divorce soon after, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart. Fast forward a few years, and I found out that Carlos and Amelia were getting married. I know it sounds crazy, but I decided to reach out to them and congratulate them on their upcoming wedding. They were both shocked to hear from me, but they invited me to their wedding anyway. That's when I came up with a plan to play their confession video at their wedding. I know it's not the most mature thing to do, but I feel like they deserve it. Update 1. I've been thinking a lot about my decision to play the confession video at Carlos and Amelia's wedding. I've been wondering if it's the right thing to do, and if it's going to hurt them as much as they hurt me. I've also been thinking about how it's going to affect our mutual friends, who are all going to be at the wedding. I've decided to go through with it, but I'm going to make sure that I do it in a way that's respectful to everyone involved. I've hired a videographer to record the whole thing, and I'm going to make sure that the video is played at the right moment. I'm planning to play it during the reception, when everyone is having a good time. I know it's going to be a shock to everyone, but I feel like it's something that needs to be done. I've also been thinking about how I'm going to feel after it's all over. I know it's going to be a roller coaster of emotions, but I'm hoping that it's going to bring me some closure. I'm also hoping that it's going to make Carlos and Amelia realize what they did to me and how it affected my life. Update 2. The wedding day has finally arrived, and I'm feeling a mix of emotions. I'm nervous, anxious, and excited all at the same time. I've been rehearsing my speech for weeks, and I'm ready to go. The ceremony was beautiful, and Carlos and Amelia looked happy. But as soon as the reception started, I knew it was time to put my plan into action. I gave the signal to the videographer, and the video started playing. The room fell silent, and everyone's eyes were fixed on the screen. The video was a recording of Carlos and Amelia's confession, and it was clear as day. They both looked embarrassed, and they didn't know what to say. The room was filled with gasps and whispers, and some people even got up and left. I felt a sense of satisfaction, knowing that I had finally gotten my revenge. But as I looked at Carlos and Amelia, I saw the pain and regret in their eyes. They knew they had hurt me, and they were sorry. I realized that playing the video wasn't about hurting them, it was about closure. It was about showing them that their actions had consequences. Update 3. It's been a few weeks since the wedding, and I've been thinking a lot about what happened. I've been wondering if I did the right thing, and if it was worth it. I've come to the realization that it wasn't about revenge, it was about moving on. Playing the video was my way of closing the chapter on that part of my life. I've been able to forgive Carlos and Amelia, and I've even been able to start talking to them again. We've all been able to move on, and we've all been able to heal. I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm hoping that we can all put the past behind us and start fresh. I'm also hoping that I can find love again, and that I can move on to the next chapter of my life. I've learned a lot from this experience, and I'm grateful for it. I've learned that forgiveness is key, and that holding on to grudges only hurts us in the end. I've also learned that sometimes we have to take a stand and fight for what's right. I'm not the same person I was a few years ago, and I'm grateful for that. I'm stronger, wiser, and more resilient, and I'm ready for whatever comes next.